Okay, so you have to testify in court or tribunal hearing, and that can be really, really intimidating. And actually, courts and the law has been designed in a way to intimidate because it is a structure that evokes power and authority, and it wants everybody within its system to understand that and to abide by the rules of justice. So what does that mean for you? You could either be the claimant or the person that has suffered some form of harm or discrimination or even criminal charge. You've been the victim of, as they say in the criminal justice system, and you are going to court to testify about your own personal experience, which of course is much more difficult than testifying about what you know about somebody else's situation. And that could be the other reason and context in which you're testifying. Either way, the rules and the process are the same, which is that beforehand you can prepare by reviewing all of your notes, all of the information that you provided in relation to the claim, whether that's to the police or to your lawyer and then to the court or the tribunal. You can review all of that, refresh your memory, and pay attention to the details like dates, all of the facts, the information, location of where you were, because all of that is incredibly important when you're testifying. The other thing to remember is that when an adjudicator or a judge is listening to your story, they're not just listening to what you're saying, but they are assessing your credibility, how likely it is that you're telling the truth, and should they believe you. And they're weighing that against other witnesses' credibility, because if another witness says a different thing than you, they're going to be thinking, which person should I believe? And some of the things that they consider are things like your consistency. Are you saying from one end to the other end the same thing, or is your story changing when you're pressed? Are you sticking to the right dates, or are you getting things confused? Are you agreeing to certain points, even though they might be negative about your story, when they're clearly true, or are you denying them? Are you being hostile and difficult in answering questions or refusing to answer questions? All of those things will factor into whether the judge decides to believe you. So it is incredibly important to be cooperative, to take your time and make sure you're answering the questions properly, and to be sure that you are still staying consistent throughout. Those are really hard things, especially when you're talking about something that is incredibly traumatic and painful to you and that happened years and years in the past. So my main tips are to prepare well, to get a good night's sleep, to have water available, to make sure that you're well fed and well rested when you get there, but also to not be afraid to take breaks, to say, I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time. I'm wondering if I can take a 5-minute break, and then go outside, do some deep breathing, or do whatever feels good for you in that space, and then come back. There's also nothing wrong with being authentic. For example, if you laugh a lot when you're nervous, that could come across as not telling the truth. But if you explain at the outset, I just want to let you know I'm really nervous, and when I'm nervous, I tend to laugh. Also, make sure you're never guessing. If you don't know the answer, that's okay. Just say you don't know, because it's better than guessing and getting it wrong and contradicting yourself. And finally, you don't have to answer a question if you don't understand it. Sometimes lawyers ask questions that are really convoluted, that are actually 3 questions in one. Just ask them to break it down, or say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you rephrase it? At the end of the day, this is your truth. So believe in what you have to say, and don't let other lawyers put too much pressure on you. Take breaks, deep breaths, and answer slowly, and make sure you're only answering the question that's asked. You've got this.